the Around the NFL podcast. Have never been to Gregg's house.
That's true. From the Chris Wessling podcast studio, it's Around the NFL. I am Dan Hanzus. I got heroes here. Gregg Rosenthal, Marc Sessler, and Mark, what day is it today?
It's Wednesday, as far as I know.
Thank you. That means also with us is the wickedly talented, the cerebral, the empathetic, the photogenic, founding member of the 1051 Club, Colleen Wolfe.
Hello. The 1051 Club is the... Oh, hey, hold on a second.
Uh-oh.
Is this what's happening
He's
here?
got 1.5 thumbs, folks.
That threw me first.
Was that the
Yeah, me
trope
too.
alert going off at the same time as the Colleen Wolfe theme?
We're having a soundboard problem, so I'm opening folders and
okay.
things flew down on the music list. But here, let me give her a clean one. Sorry, guys. I blew that one.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It's kind of fun.
There we go. Sorry, guys.
Johnny's the queen. She is the queen of NFL media.
There we go.
Hey,
So the
Connie.
1051 Club is, right now, Dan and I are in this club because that is the time that we arrive for the pod at the same exact moment in the parking garage. Now,
Separate but simultaneously. Our cars.
it's happened now maybe 3 times. So
1051 Club is hallowed ground, and I invite anyone to join us. There's a bit of a rush. Like when I see your car, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but Colleen comes straight here, and then so she's still early.
What do you mean?
Right,
I'm
I
early.
still-
Get
Don't
in here
down
a couple
this road.
minutes
This
late.
is
What do you
not-
mean?
This won't be
Just saying,
productive.
she comes straight here.
This won't be
I see
productive.
her.
Sir, I believe we're starting at 11:25. I was sitting here for 23 minutes before we started.
Fair. It's fair.
Yeah, so you got here
Again,
at
hand
11:01,
up,
right on
Hand
right
up.
on time.
That's
for the
on
most
me.
part.
Hand up.
What?
Being late today. 11:25 start. That's on me.
No, there's lots of technical issues.
It's okay.
I'll take it.
It's okay.
you want to be part of the
It's
1051
Wednesday.
Club?
No.
Come on in.
No,
You
that
can
would be
join
a
us.
problem.
That
would be a problem.
Be an issue. We got a lot to get to today. Colleen, the face of NFL Network's coverage of Thursday night football, will break down the game that starts Week 13, Seahawks-Cowboys. That's a good one. It's
It
a
is.
wickedly
It
compelling
is.
game. We also have a segment now that we are heading, Mark, toward the home stretch of the regular season. Here's what matters
Right.
down the stretch here.
No, Trent.
We're gonna help.
And we really were workshopping some ideas during the week.
I felt like you sent a text yesterday, and I assumed you had inhaled ayahuasca because you had so many ideas flowing from you.
They were great
in a
ideas.
long-
I just
long
know
text run.
I was surprised that all those ideas came when they did, but I thought I'd share them, and this includes some elements of those ideas,
Right.
and other elements of other people's ideas.
It reminds me of Keith Richards waking up from a deep sleep, sitting up, playing the riff of Satisfaction into a tape recorder, and then going back to bed.
You never know; could have been very close to that. I'm a little.
I took
I will
bits
say
and
one thing.
pieces of all of the
Did you?
ideas that you had,
Yeah.
and then put it into the segment. Maybe it's
Oh.
my own
No,
segment.
I like to
This
give
is
you.
gonna
I
be
know
a good one.
you like structure, and so I was trying to provide some
I love
elements of
structure.
The segment's a little open-ended,
Yeah.
and I am just so excited to see how far afield Colleen goes on this one.
Really gonna stick the landing, guys.
Colleen's going to be talking about the industrial movement of Germany in the 1910s.
Or The Departed. Who knows?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. You saw Departed. Good job.
Yep. Really thought I had seen it before. As it turns out, did not. And great movie, guys. You guys know about it? Does
I've
anyone
seen
know
it.
about The Departed?
Up next, Mark and I have suggested it. And Johnny, your husband, I feel like he's a bit of a cinephile, so this
Yeah.
all surprised me. We want you to check out Heat by Michael Mann.
Okay. All right. That's next on
Pacino,
the
De
list.
Niro,
Yeah.
diner scene. What else do you need?
Young Natalie Portman,
Well, I'm in.
Val Kilmer.
Okay.
Like Val Kilmer at his height.
Are we talking young Natalie Portman? Let's put Beautiful Girls on the list as well.
All right. It's on the list. I have so
Anything,
much
Greg?
time to watch all these movies.
Skip the Zach Braff movie though. Doesn't age
Garden
well.
State.
Garden
Hasn't
Yeah,
aged.
I'm with you.
Oh.
That overshot its
I
mark.
have seen that one.
At the time, great.
But
Great
you know what?
soundtrack.
Can I say something? Great soundtrack.
Uh-huh.
Can I say it's okay for some movies just to live in the world where they live?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, I
we
think
could
that's fair.
enjoy that we
Yeah.
we found it deep in 2004, and now it's a little embarrassing, but that also That's like taking a time machine, watching.
It is.
Maybe you should watch Garden State.
I don't know if I want to go back.
You got a lot of to-dos now.
All right, but first, as we promised, I am so excited for this. It's something that we've teased the pilot for a long time, including an initial pilot. Like, you know how Game of Thrones had a pilot that was so bad that they threw it out, and HBO spent millions and millions of dollars, and then they had to reshoot the whole thing. We had a pilot of this and then we even recorded it, and then we realized the sound we were using was actually months old, so we had to scrap the pilot in post. We had to scrub it.
That was the best.
But this time the sound is fresh. It is the sound from Panthers owner David Tepper's press conference after the firing of Frank Reich. So yes, enjoy the pilot premiere of ATN Presents Tepper-B-Talkin.
It's exciting.
People really need to check out the YouTube, subscribe.
Oh my God.
To our channel. We have our own channel.
Can you lean out just a little bit, Greg, so people can see the
Greg.
full graphic?
Let's see the.
Let's see if
Look that
we
way.
need to see the full.
Let's see if my
There we go.
My directions were Tepper-B-Talkin, lose the G, add the apostrophe at the end, stylized, perfectly done by Eric Roberts.
Very
It's,
much looks like my Trapper Keeper from 6th grade.
It's so good. It's very Saved by the Bell. I would love this T-shirt.
It's a visual feast. Well done, Eric.
All right, so to set it up once again, David Tepper has been the owner of the Panthers for about 5 years now, and they have struggled mightily in that time. They've been unable to field a winning team. In fact, only my New York Jets have a worse record than the Panthers since David Tepper took over. That's insane, by the way. And he fired Frank Reich after 11 games. That's the earliest a first-year coach has been dismissed in over 40 years, I believe. So you knew this press conference. It's kismet, actually, if you think about it, the debut episode of Tepper-B-Talkin. It had to be big. I mean, what's bigger than this when Tepper is kind of under siege and the Panthers are being examined in a way that is probably uncomfortable for everyone involved? So Mr. Tepper took to the microphone, and let's play some of what he said, starting with Tepper explaining his decision-making on why he dismissed Reich and why he's fired 3 head coaches and 2 MLS coaches in the last few years.
Stop.
Look, as I said, there are reasons for each individual situation. I think you guys, upon your own reflection into looking what happened this season, can understand that. You're around town, particularly those that are around town, and can know the reasons.
What?
Again, I'm not going to get into that into those particulars, but I do have patience. I'm just not. My reputation away from this game is one for extreme patience. There's no reason why that doesn't, come here too. It does. Now, that patience comes with good performance and things that you want to see progress be made on different aspects.
Okay.
My reputation away from the game is extreme patience. Thoughts?
That caught me when I was listening live. It was it completely jumped out, and it's like, okay, cool, but that doesn't matter. Nobody cares about your reputation away from this. We're talking about your reputation right now in the league, and it's not of patience.
Well, plus, I don't know. I don't know if that to be true, and I'm not going to do the work to find out if it is true. But based on the way he's positioned his football takes, a lot of it, you can find some haziness too. Like the fact that I am patient, but you're not patient. We heard these reports. He didn't want to do this, but you did want to do it. You did it. And I don't know what's happening around town. What was he talking about? He said the people that are walking around town know. If I had to guess, I think he's talking about the people, the fans, the chirping, the what he hears around town. And
Maybe the columnists.
Right. And if it's kind of like if you're listening to the people around town, what's the quote? You're going to become one of them if you're a head coach.
I think he is impatient in a lot of senses, because there was Scott Fowler of the Charlotte Observer, who had been critical of Tepper in writing before all this went down, was not allowed to ask a question at this press conference where he's telling us how level-headed he is. There is The Ringer has a piece from Nora
Yes.
Princiotti.
Can I just say Scott Fowler, the headline of the article he wrote the day when he was fired, which was Panthers owner David Tepper fired another head coach. He should fire himself. And so, that is like the #1 columnist in town, and then they didn't let him
then
ask
you're
a
muzzled.
question.
I mean, I think that's pretty on the nose, and I think that shows you don't kind of get you. Maybe that works in your hedge fund magazine if someone's on a reporter in that world, but it doesn't work here. And Nora Princiotti of The Ringer found this 2010 profile of Tepper where he was described in quotes as loud and profane. And then this other thing, that if he goes, the knee-jerkism is real. If he goes and is confronted with anything he doesn't like, if someone is an ass, he said, Tepper, like a waiter at a restaurant, I think I could just buy this place and fire that guy.
Whoa.
So you can't tell us that in your other world you have all this patience and you're bringing it here. There are factoids and anecdotes that suggest not true.
1051 Club, that is what he is kind of screaming there. But I will say, based on his line about being patient outside of the NFL, there have been plenty of owners that have gone on the record and done interviews, like Robert Kraft has done it and Arthur Blank has done it as well, talking about how the NFL being an owner is so different than any other business that they've ever been involved in. And it like to get the money, to get that to the point where you can own a team, it's just very, very different, and you have to adapt to it. And it's like nothing that they've ever done before.
Right, because half of them are going to be losers every year. By definition. Not in terms of making money. You can be the dumbest business owner ever, and you will be successful owning your NFL team. It will always raise in value. Like, there is no way to lose money. So it's a very strange dichotomy.
I think it takes a lot of owners, maybe all owners, a few years to kind of settle in. So I would just want to say, like, the idea that they've struggled so far doesn't mean they're going to struggle forever with Tepper leading the way. But you have to obviously learn from what's happening here, and we're going to see if they do. I have another sound clip, a lot of conversation around Bryce Young, of course, with C.J. Stroud, a sensation down in Houston, and the reports out there, the people talking around town, perhaps, that it was Frank Reich's desire to have C.J. Stroud with the first overall pick, and in general, it was Tepper's decision to pound the table and say, bring me the Alabama star, Bryce Young, who has struggled mightily in his first year. Here is David Tepper on that rumor in his mind.
Now, look, everything that's right and everything that's wrong here ultimately is my fault. Okay? I have the final say. But as far as those decisions, whether it's Frank Reich or it's Bryce Young, those decisions were made, and in the case of Bryce, it was almost, I believe it was a unanimous decision from the coaches and the scouts, and very strong opinions at the time.
Say, every press conference from here on out needs to have this, like an underbed of music like this. It adds a real vibrancy to it, Dave.
I think it only makes sense for Tepper-B-Talkin. This is just the perfect instrument for this content.
I need to know what the direction was of this, like when you were working with Eric to put this together. What did you tell him the type of music that you wanted?
I was thinking of like when the gang in Saved by the Bell like went into the Max.
Ah, okay.
You know, and that kind of, it's exciting to see, you know, Zach and Slater and Kelly and Lisa and Screech all together. But when you have that music underneath, and then Max the magician rolls in, the waiter, which, by the way, just easy with the tricks and get me my burger.
Yes.
Max.
Get to business.
Buy the whole place and fire him.
Right. Exactly. It's a little more exciting with the music underneath, you know?
I think it totally fits tonally. And these rumors, people kind of like throw this out there, the rumors that it was a very specific reporter, Adam Schefter, that said David Tepper loves Bryce Young and Frank Reich like C.J. Stroud. And that was in March. So I keep hearing this, that it's just like thrown it out like, it's whispers. But it was Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
He was the one that reported it. It was last March that Reich wanted Stroud.
We needed Gregg at this press conference.
He wouldn't have been allowed to ask a question.
No. And there was a lot there that some other Carolina journalists noted, just optics-wise and everything. They kept the entire front row reserved for people that didn't end up taking the seat. Like I don't know who it was for. Only one person sat there. So all the reporters were in the second row. I just found that interesting.
What?
They were all in the second row, and they almost cut it off after like 9 minutes. He answered one more question that he talked for 4 straight minutes on. It was this Bryce Young topic, and yeah, Scott Fowler and many of the other key journalists that cover the team were not.
You know what they could have done? Because if they said, "Oh, we're 15 minutes, that's what this is going to be," which is, by the way, 14 minutes is very short for a press conference of this magnitude.
Yeah.
You know, in the combine, the most annoying thing ever is when you want to get, you know, the GMs and the coaches speak for this finite amount of time, and then some bonehead is writing the feature about the offensive line through the years or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, time for one more for coach. And it's like, oh, yeah, how is blocking in your mind in the 70s different than the 2000s? And everyone in the gangbang just kind of like, they roll their eyes and shrug their shoulders. Like, you just ruined it for everybody.
Yeah.
Next level thinking, if I was an oligarch owner, I would just plant a couple of those bozos in there to just fill up all the time asking about, you know, various history questions pertaining to the NFL.
It's a good idea.
Anyway, one more. This is about his future or something. Here we go.
You know, I would like to have somebody here for 20, 30 years. I'd like to have somebody that would say eulogy at my funeral in 30 years. Okay, maybe it's 40 years, I hope.
That was referring.
No.
He wants to find a coach. He wants to find a life partner in football.
A lifer.
Well, he was a minority owner with the Steelers, and people have pointed out, you know, how David Tepper has fired and had more head coaches in his 5 years than the Steelers had since like World War II.
Yeah. By the way, like that Charlotte Football Club.
I mean, they're
fired-
extreme on the other side, but
the other
yeah,
way, but
yeah.
like, yeah.
That Charlotte Football Club has, like, the soccer team has fired 4 head coaches in the past 18 months. The most recent one, from what I read, actually went to the postseason.
Oh my God, that's right.
So it's like, I mean, I think there's an argument to say that Frank Reich needed to go. Like, it wasn't
To the MLS?
No, to just gone. I don't have a huge problem with moving on from this experience. And like, it's in another parallel universe. Had they taken Stroud, and you got this version of Stroud, which is also a question mark under Frank Reich, no one's gone probably. But it's like there is a mix of impatience, and also like I kind of get where he's coming from. If you're an owner that has picked the wrong coach a number of times and you've never found a quarterback, you're going to go through this darkness.
Right, but there's no process, there's no plan. He seems to be in charge. The 2-year contract they gave to Teddy Bridgewater, remember that guaranteed money? That was kind of crazy. Then they were spitting out, and he's like, this isn't going to work. Let's go get Sam Darnold and give up a second and a fourth for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, Trader Joe.
And then like 6 games into that, it's like, oh my God, this isn't going to work. Let's try to get Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was like, no, thank you.
Don't forget about Baker.
So then they bring in Baker Mayfield, and they're like, this isn't going to work. And it just, you know, let's go get Bryce Young.
Steve Wilkes had the most success with them, and that's because they were running the ball, and like that's how their team was built to be successful. And then they decided, no, we're gonna get rid of Steve Wilkes, and we're also not gonna run the ball. We're gonna pass it.
There was a very human quote in the Albert Breer story about him from a former Panther staffer, which like it seems obvious enough. His thing is the minute it gets bad, it's gonna get worse. So we better try something else. He's a hedge fund guy. That's what hedge fund guys do. The second something stops earning money, they take their money out of it, take the profit, and move on to something else. So it's like the second any of these decisions start going bad, and they have been bad decisions, he's like, all right, let's burn it. Let's go. And like that just leads to just more and more problems.
We weren't very good at podcasting when we started.
No, if you go back and listen to those first few episodes, like we speak really quietly and with hesitancy. Not Greg. Greg rolled in. You know, he's a talker, but like Dan and I are just like.
Is that true? I don't think that's true.
But
I'm sure we all.
You came out of the birth canal talking, Greggy.
Is this such a good time to check the stake on these podcast bozos?
Rosie be honking.
That's our next spinoff. So the ATN. I think that was a good pilot up. I think that one is gonna get picked up.
It's almost like a reverse flashpoint because Tepper, maybe maybe he's rash and maybe he acted too quickly, but he also understood that this was gonna line up in a kismet fashion with this segment, one way or another. So, you know,
Flashpoint Focus is a hit. Tepper-B-Talkin is
the branding is really good.
Remember when Friends first hit, like in '94, and it was like, oh my God, this is gonna be.
We've got
huge.
something here.
We got something here
Yeah.
immediately. Well, that's us. We could have a whole network of shows. We just have to put our mind to it. Like ambition.
An empire.
Ambition. The only thing stopping us is a lack of ambition at this point. Because the ideas,
Well, that's accurate.
they're unbelievable. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what matters.
No promises on this seg, though.
Nothing at all.
Definitely not.
No promises on what matters down the stretch in the NFL.
That is perfect.
Oh my God. I loved it.
All right, we are back. Welcome.
We need to do this for more segments. I think it'll just improve our
So good.
quality
I
of
love
work.
a sting.
Welcome back. So, here's what matters. The regular season is over, I believe, on January 7th, I want to say.
That's right.
And that means every team has...
Who's counting?
Yeah, either 5 or 6 games remaining on their schedule. And let's talk about, as we kind of project toward the postseason, what are the things to really be kind of turning your focus to and what to keep an eye on in these final weeks? And I'll get this one going because it does connect with one of the Thursday night football combatants. So let's start it here. I think how the Dallas Cowboys close this regular season is mammoth. And in terms of how we think of them, in terms of what their chances are of actually doing something that they haven't done in over a quarter century, which is get to the NFC title game and even win it. So they have to close, and we're going to get to it, Seahawks at home, Eagles at home, at Buffalo. I don't know what state Buffalo will be in by then, but it's not going to be an easy game. At Miami, home Detroit, at Washington. Now, how do the Cowboys get through that gauntlet and go into the playoffs? Because are they going to, if they're a 13-4 right now, what are they? They 8-3, I believe.
Yeah.
If they finish 13-4 or 14-3, and they're a juggernaut, and a potential number 1 seed, or they could be 11-6 or even 10-7 and be a wild card team with a spotty resume against NFL elites, because that will have mean that they didn't fare too well in this final stretch. And I think at that point, if that's the version, Mark, it's going to be back to the old Sesslerism, where we're kind of just like, I don't know, we've seen you stub your toe too many times against big-time teams this year to think it's going to be different in the playoffs. But on the flip side, the way they're playing right now, and I know, there are elements of football Twitter, smart Twitter, I call it. They've always had an infatuation with Dak, and right now you're seeing a lot of people going nuts again about how incredible Prescott has been and how he's different and better than ever, and the data backs that up the past 6 weeks. Can he keep that up now when the schedule tightens up? Is he going to be an MVP player when it counts most, including when we get to January? But for now, I'm kind of focusing on these last 6 games. What version of the Dallas Cowboys do we get?
Yeah, there's no team like this in the NFL, and it's kind of this continuing optics situation for Dallas where, like, there's 2 things happening. There's like, wait, Dak Prescott very likely could be the MVP, but it's like the other people need to see him beat the Eagles, not come close against the Eagles, and win these games. It's like, it's really just how you feel about him. I mean, separate from his actual play, like the Sessler version of doubting the Cowboys, though, has been eradicated at the moment, because this feels different to me than other Cowboys.
But in fairness, it's because we haven't seen how they look in this stretch coming up.
It is, except that they have been blowing people's doors off with like nuclear weaponry, and so it's not like they're sliding by the Commanders.
Done that before. Against lesser
I haven't seen like all aspects of the team, including coaching, operate this well with a Dallas team.
Maybe Dak's rookie year, but probably not since.
We're all on fire. Just to the point I was making, we're all like super pumped about Dallas and their offense right now. But just as a reminder, Giants at Carolina, home Panthers. Those are home Commanders. Those are the 3 wins that have the football world like really tuned in right now. I want to see it against these next 6.
I would just say if you go 4-2 and you beat some of these teams, like I think we're allowed to think differently about the Cowboys at this point. You're not going to go 6-0,
right? If you put a normal Super Bowl champion and gave them this schedule down the stretch, especially the at Buffalo, at Miami too, they're not going to go 6-0 because it's football. Like most great,
it happens.
It happens.
It happens.
They could go 6-0, but I think if they went 4-2 and the 2 losses were closer, they go certainly 5-1. I mean, that would be extremely impressive. The annoying thing I think for you is it's probably going to land in the middle. because of the Eagles schedule, I'll get to that. It's very likely, even if they beat the Eagles, that they're not going to go 6-0, and the odds are against them winning the division. If they win 4 or 5 of these games, they're probably going to get that 5 seed. And you're right, these are better matchups, Buffalo, Miami. It's all exciting to watch. The defenses he's facing aren't great. I love that Dak MVP odds right now because the Seahawks, they're struggling on defense. The Eagles, they can't stop anyone through the air. The Bills have been mediocre. The Dolphins are playing well defensively. The Lions are one of the worst defenses in the league right now, and the Commanders are one of the worst defenses in the league. So I think Dak can keep it going. I am totally with you as a team. Like, they look like one of the best 4 teams in the NFL. If you're one of those, you probably win 4 or 5 of these games. But
do not go 3-3. Do not go
Yes.
2-4. And if you
don't lose to the Eagles.
if you're, and that's a key game, obviously. That has to be at home. You either have to win that game or compete to the very end.
No, you got to win it. You got to win it. Enough of this losing close to the Eagles and getting swept by them.
Well, that'd be progress
Well-
from their last superpower opponent
Yeah.
when they lost 42-10 to the Niners.
Yeah, and so much has been made about how great they've been at home, but like you have to look at who they actually played at home. The Jets, the Patriots, the Rams, the Giants, the Commanders, like teams that have a combined record of 19 and 38. So, of course, they're averaging 41 points per game at home versus on the road where they lost to the Eagles, they lost to the Niners, and then they also they played the Giants, the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Chargers. I mean, that's a combined record of 29 and 39. So, of course, they're averaging 17 fewer points per game on the road because of those opponents. But the Cowboys will very likely be playing in the playoffs on the road. So you have to also take that into consideration.
And you're right, Greg. You're right about because they went to Philly a few weeks back, and they nearly won, but they got beat. You can't get swept by the Eagles and then expect me to like think something's going to change in January. So win that game.
Yes.
Win at least 4, maybe 5, and then I'll be like, okay, this team's got something different this year. We shall see. We shall see. All right, Connie, you're up next.
All right, so this segment,
How'd you do?
Well, I thought it was more about the December dreams that Mark had
go ahead.
thrown out there.
You can.
What matters is an umbrella over those various other concepts. So even in our texting, Dan said you're
Right.
welcome to approach it.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead. Go
there
wherever
was
you want.
a fatal flaws that was thrown out there, a
Yes.
December dream, and then also what matters.
I
so
have no idea what December dreams even meant.
I just went with December dreams.
The anxiety is pouring off Colleen right now and like leaking on my
I
shirt.
think I slipped a disc in my neck from stressing out about this place.
Just
All
let
right.
it go, Connie. Let it go.
Well, all right, here we go.
Hey, you're in the trust tree.
My December dream, gang, is this.
Yes.
Can't wait.
So after a delightful meatball parm from Angelo's at 9th and Fitzwater, the decision has been made. Family members are notified, and a new jersey stitched by the tri-state area's finest. The only question left is how apoplectic Jerry Jones will be when he finds out the obvious here, that Shaq Leonard has fallen in love with Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
Wait,
Now-
hold that thought 1 second before
Okay.
you go on. Eric, do you have it? I think this will help. I think it's going to help. Not that you're off to a bad start,
What?
but this is going to make it great.
Okay.
I'll cue you.
That's sort of...
I'll
okay.
count you in. Okay. Here's your count. 5,
Okay.
4, 3, 2, 1.
You know, it didn't take him long to make the decision, but since the Cowboys play the Seahawks on Thursday night and the Eagles play the Niners on Sunday, Leonard's debut probably not going to happen until Week 14 when the Eagles go to Dallas to play the Cowboys in Dallas, who are also in the sweepstakes for Shaq Leonard.
Bang.
So, listen, don't forget here that Nick Sirianni is the former Colts offensive coordinator for 3 years. He still has a relationship with Shaq Leonard, and it just feels like a really nice competition for these two to have before they actually play the second game, which will be huge in the NFC.
I like it. So what matters is where does Shaq Leonard land and what kind of impact could he have?
And what better news and development for your December dream that he went to Dallas. You know, it's a nice place. You could be driven around town. You could live here in this mansion. He was like, yeah, cool. I'm going to go to Philadelphia now.
Exactly.
And to be clear, he has not signed with either team.
No.
He met with the Eagles earlier on Wednesday as we're taping. So this segment could potentially be out of date if he makes a decision on Wednesday. I mean,
More anxiety.
I'm just saying.
This is a December nightmare.
Nick Sirianni said, he met with him. They talked, and we'll see. And the Eagles and Cowboys both have some issues at linebacker. I would say
Leighton
the Eagles
Vander Esch
might be
done.
even bigger, though. And the Eagles have a nice history of bringing in veterans late in the season.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
then
so
making
true.
a difference. And,
Oh, yeah.
and sometimes they don't make a difference, but they bring them in, they give it a shot, and I that's where I would go.
Howie
I would make that
Roseman.
December dream come true.
Thank you.
Well,
And I don't think Shaq
it's
Leonard
the holidays.
playing
It's
this
lovely.
game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greggy, you're up.
All right, here's what matters: the schedule.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I feel like we try to avoid schedule.
Where would we
analysis
be without
sometime
the
on Sunday
schedule?
night.
We'd be
Lost.
screwed.
Anarchy.
Before the season, the schedule doesn't matter. I don't need to hear your schedule analysis, really. We're just guessing. 5 to 6 weeks left in the season. It matters almost more than anything.
GC.
So I just got some schedule nuggets. We talked
Oh.
Eagles and Cowboys. That Cowboys schedule rough. Eagles are very likely the number 1 seed because of their schedule. And you think, oh, wow, they're on this brutal stretch here. They got the 49ers this week. They're underdogs. And then they're, okay, that's fine. And then they have the Cowboys. They can lose those two. And to me, they're still very likely the number 1 overall seed. Their actually future schedule overall, according to the DVOA, is better than average because they finish with at Seattle, who's not playing as well lately. That's not an easy game. And then Giants, Cardinals, Giants. And the 49ers and the Cowboys, yeah, they could get that tiebreaker. The 49ers are going to have to win out probably for a chance to get that 1 seed. The Cowboys, we just mentioned their schedule. It'd be very hard for them to win out, but they certainly would have to beat the Eagles and probably win out. So that's a nice little thing for the Eagles that really, if you split these 2 games, you are going to be sky high in terms of number 1 seed likelihood. And even if you lost the 2, I would say it's better than 50-50. Some more stuff that schedule matters.
Just think about, Greg, one thing. Our friend, why am I blanking on the kicker's name? Sorry.
Jake Elliott.
Our friend Jake Elliott's 59-yarder,
Ooh.
how much that changes
Yes.
things because getting that win instead of the L gives them the cushion that Greg's referring
House money.
This is more just a funny nugget. Again, according to DVOA, people should check that out. It's now on FTN Fantasy. You got to pay for it. It's worth it. It's worth it.
That's a tax write-off.
Our old friend Aaron Schatz.
I don't know what that means.
It's just funny to me that the 3 easiest schedules in the league remaining are the Bucs, Saints, and Falcons because they're all playing each other a
Oh,
bunch. It's
right.
part of it.
The big
It's just
slop
like
fest.
It's just
Big ol'
stupid. You're a
sloppy
bunch
Joe.
of stupid
I tried
teams.
to blow up the NFC South.
You did.
You tried.
and I was mocked.
We
tried.
giggled you off the stage, and then now we look like fools.
Well, she didn't really know what she was talking about, but the segment. But then she did.
I
in
did.
the end, came all the way
I did.
around.
Right.
Got the W.
In another world, like you would say, maybe the NFC South could get 2 teams in here because they all have such easy schedules, but they'll find a way to blow it. I think if you look at the AFC 1 seed, the Chiefs have the easiest schedule remaining, 21st easiest in the league, while the Ravens have the hardest. The other 3 teams that are in the mix, the Ravens, the Dolphins, and the Jaguars, the Ravens play the Dolphins and the Jaguars. So those are guaranteed L's for one of those teams here. And the Chiefs don't really have many difficult games or really any difficult games the rest of the way.
They don't play a winning team, I don't believe.
Right. I think this Packers game is a little bit tricky, and they have an at Chargers, but they always find a way there. Whereas I mentioned what the Ravens have, the Dolphins have Cowboys, they have an at Ravens, they have a Bills. The Jags, they probably have the second best chance here. They have an at Browns, and then they have that Ravens game here. But man, it's shaping up to be Chiefs number 1. And then if you look at the wild cards, the Texans are really the team that stand out as having the easiest schedule remaining, and so that's good for your Texans, Mark.
I have one little scheduling, request too, that we've been light on the flexing. A team like the Patriots plays 3 primetime games between now and the end of their hellish journey that we don't need to lay eyes on. And there are not. I went through and looked at all the primetime games, and there's a couple good ones. Thankfully for everyone involved, but there are some stinkers out there and some teams that were projected to still matter and they don't. Like, start flexing some of these games, ladies and gentlemen.
Can we get rid of the Patriots on Christmas Eve? They're playing the Broncos. The Broncos are good now, but
No, that's good, actually. because it's Christmas Eve night, and like I want to spend time with my family.
It's
and
like it's the third game on.
So just
good for you. I'll be here.
Just if you want, you can even flex an NFC South game in there, and it's just like I'm going to be with my family in some level.
And you never know. Sometimes like Packers Chiefs to me a couple weeks ago was like, really, that's the Sunday night game, and now that's one of the most fun games of the week. And the last one is that of all the NFC wildcard teams, and it's why you see on some of these projections that the Packers are already up to a 50% chance to make the playoffs. They have the easiest schedule remaining. They have this tough Chiefs game, but after that, they're all very winnable games.
It's funny because even at this high point right now for the Packers, I still include them in this huge middle class of the NFL. It's pretty inconsistent week to week.
Sure.
And it's like, even though you're right, the schedule matters more now because we have a better idea of what these teams are. I can't look at it. It's a perfect test for you, Mark, because I know we've had there's been some type of bad energy around teams that you have adopted in recent years on the show. The Texans, okay? They seem pretty safe. They have this beautiful young quarterback. They have a really cohesive group, and they're well coached, and the schedule's soft. This is going to be a good test, Mark.
Well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to declare publicly anything because I know what will happen. The team will implode from the inside out. And
I think it already has happened in terms of the energy. I think you're attached to them.
Well, I apologize. I don't.
Maybe this is different.
It's a good test to see if I
to
actually
Dan's
have
point,
no
the last time they played in a 2-score game was week 4. So they're kind of a coin flip team, even though they're fun and they have a good quarterback. And
I mean, even look at their record.
Every single game comes down to the last play, basically, that they play.
This is a good segue to
go ahead,
the
Mark.
team that I want to talk about. That I mean, I think within the last fortnight, we're kind of like acknowledged that we forgot they existed. But they are lodged right now as the AFC's number 7th team. It's the Colts. I think that if you look at the journey of this team, that a year ago, we were talking about Frank Reich melting down there, and it's like, what's the future here? And I don't know if there's to me like a top 2 or 3 impressive coaching job by Shane Steichen. You have an excuse if your other teams, like the Bengals, you lose your starting quarterback, like everything kind of goes south. The Bengals, to me, are like 2 steps away from just being like an apparition. They don't even exist. We saw what happened with the Jets. Couldn't be more unfortunate. Shane Steichen loses his rookie first-rounder, Anthony Richardson. In comes Gardner Minshew, who is a total hot and cold act. Instead, what I think he's done is kept that team together. They've won a bunch of close games. You're in an AFC where the Chargers and the Bengals, like we mentioned, are fading into a false reality. And listen to this schedule for the Colts. The Titans, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Falcons, the Raiders, the Texans. You are currently right now the number 7 seed, lodged with the Houston Texans, same record, and the surging Broncos also at 6-5, and you've got the Bills at 6-6, and then it falls off a cliff. So I think the Colts have a real opportunity to remind us once again that they're not just this little project. Now, Jonathan Taylor, surgery. Like, I'm sticking that in
surgery.
It's a relevant news item, and it helped us not have to do a huge news sug because I stuck the Jonathan Taylor news right in the middle of this.
Say news sug?
News seg, I should say. So we've got that. I think Zach Moss, though, Zach Moss played really well, surprisingly, when Jonathan Taylor was in there.
It's a big hit, though, for my running back draft because I was thinking last week, suddenly Kamara, Taylor, Bijan was looking better than your trash teams, and all the heat I was taking.
You know what's great?
I have Christian McCaffrey on mine.
This is what's fascinating about Greg. He's been tracking.
Well, I actually
it's on his radar.
I don't know who your teams are.
He's so competitive.
I don't either, but I do remember that my 3 that I was worried about, they were coming together. I was like, this is a good little group here.
Eric, can you look up again? I'm sorry, this is like the third time I've asked Eric to look up our running back groups. Cool, Mark, I'm with you. Do I have permission? And I don't say this to anger any of the great people of Indiana and Indianapolis, one of my favorite NFL cities. I don't really care about the Colts. They kind of are ticketed to 8-9 or 9-8, and maybe they're playing on Saturday of Wild Card Weekend, and maybe that's the one game that if you had to miss, you'll choose to miss because I don't see a lot of juice with this team, and it will be commendable if they do end up getting out of the regular season. But this team doesn't necessarily excite me.
I think it's like
all.
For me, what it points to is that like a team that post Andrew Luck had no identity. They just struggled, especially quarterback. Like whether or not, no matter what we get with Anthony Richardson, that matters a lot. Like I think you've got a coach who can be around for a really long time, and I just think it's been an impressive but under the radar coaching job. And
I hear you, but you know who they kind of remind me of is all those Frank Reich teams that would win. Like Frank Reich found a way to win all those years. He had a great record until last year.
The optimism,
you know what I mean? Like with weird quarterbacks and backups, and
I think
and they would finish 10-6,
is like
but they weren't really irrelevant. They weren't.
I think Steichen's like the future of offense.
Yes.
Where Reich didn't even want to change what he did in Carolina. And be flexible and be open-minded. So I just think you've got the guy to latch onto, and I wouldn't mind seeing the Colts instead of what we've gotten from the Steelers.
Oh my God!
All right, and like frankly, wait and see on the Browns' offense.
Oh.
Like, that whole thing can fall
Well, can
apart.
I just jump into the Steelers because that's what I think matters too.
The
I'm just
Steelers.
jumping in.
yes. One last thing before you do, I just want to say we all could succumb to this, but we have optimism around the Colts because they just beat the Panthers, Patriots, and Bucks. I just want to see the fact that their schedule stays soft. I don't know if that's gonna.
It's not even
Either
that
the
soft.
Titans
Those
or
are a
the
bunch of
Bengals.
teams that are just like the Colts. They have a very average schedule where they could win any.
I
one
would
of those
say a
games or
3-game
lose
stretch that
any.
includes the Panthers and the Patriots is pretty damn.
No, I mean moving forward.
Oh, I got you.
Well,
Moving forward,
it's not a brutal.
It's not.
schedule
It's not
going
too hard. It's very. They're playing a bunch of teams kind of like the Colts,
Yeah,
and that it's like, okay, I think they're better than the Raiders, for instance.
Raiders Texans week.
Connie, did you have
18.
something to add before we
Juicy.
throw it to Greg?
I mean, I was just going to mention that Michael Pittman looked great, but that was I mean, it's not a team that excites me either. Like they haven't since Jonathan Taylor was running wild a couple seasons
Anthony
ago.
Richardson
and
injury
then-
still.
Well, you
Yeah.
also, a year ago had them ticketed as like an
I
AFC
am still
championship
feeling
type.
burned
So I know.
by it. I
know.
don't want to really
these
like
things
go
stick to
in
you, though.
on the Colts
that was
at
a
all.
dark power ranking subject throughout the 2022 season. All right, Greggy, what do you got?
I take issue with you saying anything negative about your Steelers, who you said we're going to win 12 games. You got a shot at this here, Mark.
Yeah, I do.
I think I'm putting them in the playoffs. I think we can ticket 5 teams to the playoffs in the AFC. The Ravens, the Chiefs, the Jags, the Dolphins, and the Steelers. The Steelers' offensive resurgence, and it's not just since last week when they fired Matt Canada, it's since their bye week, matters. Since then, they are 3rd in the NFL in rushing EPA. They're 11th overall in offense. They're 4th in success rate. That's since week 6. That's more than half of the season that's happened so far. They have an identity. They are a very good running team with 2 good running backs. They're an effective running team. They can finish out games. They rush the passer really well. They got some holes on defense, but they tend to make up for it with coaching and turnovers. And I think we've seen the worst out of their offense. I'm not saying Pickett's going to play like he did on Sunday, where I thought he really played really well against the Bengals. I don't really trust him, but I trust them. They're 7-4, and their schedule's pretty easy. I don't think they'll come back and beat the Ravens, but like I think there's a better chance of them winning the AFC North than there is falling out of the playoffs. And that's partly because they got Cardinals, Patriots, Colts, Bengals the next 4 weeks before a tough final 2 games at Seattle, at Baltimore. So
Seattle may not be that tough by then either.
Your 12 is not totally crazy. And I actually think if you drill down here, this is a pretty good team. It's probably a team that's like either one and done or loses in the second round of the playoffs, but they're not an embarrassing team. I think they got lucky early, and now they're actually good.
They have about 700 yards of rushing over the last 5 weeks.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's what you want to be.
I
when
was
you're
so
the
excited.
Steelers.
So this year, I felt like the Steelers were sort of my Colts coming into the regular season because I had gone there for training camp and I drank all of the Kool-Aid and there were so many things to be excited about. And then watching them play, obviously, it was like this team, it just doesn't feel like they match their record. Like what I'm watching on the field doesn't seem like it should correspond with the winning record that they have. But now they've caught up to it, and it kind of does feel, it feels they're frisky. And
Here's
I like
the other
it.
side of it, too. They have allowed under 20 points in 6 of their last 7 games. And so that's been consistent. I think TJ Watt's the kind of guy who can win a playoff game for you. That's his DNA. And like, if I get this 12 wins Steelers thing going in that offseason,
they don't play a real team, really. I guess the Colts. I take that back, but that's not a real quarterback in terms of like a top.
Here's why.
Until December 31st.
Here's what
only have
makes
4
this make
losses.
sense. Okay, because even they could get to 12, but they're not really a 12-win team.
No,
that
probably
doesn't
get to
matter for your
11.
prediction.
That doesn't matter at all.
The truth of the matter is, and it's very simple, they are a 10-7 team that got the Bengals twice after Joe Burrow got hurt.
Perfect timing.
So they're going to pick up 2 wins that they probably had no business getting, and that's going to 10 plus 2 equals 12. So in my mind, this is kind of like a fringy 9 or 10 win team. That again, not another team stick them on Saturday. God, hopefully, maybe we can get the Steelers and Colts and locking horns and get that game off the grid entirely.
Well, that means one advances.
Right.
They got to win the
That's true
division.
too.
But I think they could. The only thing I'd push back on just a little. I think I'd put them at 11. I mean, and you're right. In general, they're a 10-win team. But now, like looking forward, I don't think the Bengals would have swept them with Joe Burrow. Like this Bengals team has issues, and I think this Steelers team, it can be a legit top 10 type of team. I think they'd most likely split that.
Yeah, division games, you know,
Division
they're
games.
one in the margins.
Go check out the Joe Burrow film when he was healthy there for a couple of weeks. They were looking.
I hear
at
you.
Cincinnati.
There's
again.
other issues. On
That's
that team.
another frustrating subplot.
Like,
to
you've
the
mentioned
season.
about 6 teams that you want to play on that invisible Saturday playoff game, but like that, to me, I think to the point of that, if you look at the top 7 or 8 in both conferences,
right.
There's a lot of junk that's going to escape
That's
the
why
regular season.
that's coming up repeatedly. There, some of these teams at the bottom of the playoff picture are really teams you just want to get to division round football as soon as possible. But you know what? I'll still be watching the games. I'll still enjoy them. Could be drama. All right,
You're a professional, so
there we go. Total pro. All right, I'll do my other one. All right, here's what matters: Trevor Lawrence and the doomed quarterback class of 2021. Look at this. You ready? Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall in the 2021 draft. It was signed, sealed, and delivered the moment he declared out of.
Come on, man.
I gotta know this.
You have the ball.
Oh, that's right. Well, I have a deep connection with the university. Out of Clemson. Okay. Now, do you want to? Should I share the ball story?
I think it would help.
Now,
Like either that or we have to edit that out. Yes, because no one will know what we're talking about.
Connie, can you grab the ball?
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, I was in the office and I went downstairs where we have like our dressing area, and there was a football sitting with all my shirts and stuff. And I picked it up, and my name was on it. Like, and it was beautiful. You want to get a shot of this here?
Oh my God.
My name was on it, and it says "Most Valuable Partner, Dan Hanzus. Thank you for aiding in the professional development of our scholar athlete and providing a life-changing career experience during our 2023 Los Angeles Business Week trip." And then it's signed by head coach of Clemson, Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney?
Wait, what was this
Dabo?
that you did for them? Or they're
Nothing. That's the thing that's unbelievable.
What do you mean? How do you know?
And
Because you told me.
How do you know, though? I love how mad Greg gets about this.
Hanzus displayed it in the window here in the podcast studio, so anyone walking past the studio
So
could
now-
see
Wait, so it's
the
not even
football.
he
Clemson,
rotated
it's
the
from-
football so that if you walk by,
Right.
you could see his name prominently displayed.
Now, here's
as a
the thing.
charitable
on
individual.
top of a mug, so it was hoisted up as well.
Now-
What did you do?
Is it perfectly clear to anyone, myself included, what I did for this scholar athlete? No, not on the surface. But do I have this football with my name engraved in it and signed by one of the most famous head coaches
I mean,
in college
it's
football?
proof of something.
With all these nice
a
words
mistake.
about me?
What-
That
what
is
does it
absolutely true.
What did it say you did?
That is
again?
apparent.
What
But
was
you helped the scholar
lot of
athletes on a business
intangibles.
trip. Now I realize it's not from Clemson. It's from Dabo Swinney and some sort of.
Paw Journey,
It's-
which
oh,
is
okay,
his
yeah, it is
lifestyle
related.
of winning.
What business trip was this?
I'm like one of those people, like, there are people that do things, nice things, and then
Okay.
make sure everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
There are people that just try to keep it to themselves. So I'm going to leave it kind of more mysterious.
Helpful.
And, yes, Greg?
There's also people.
This was absolutely a clerical error.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, is it a listener?
know you wanna
My
know.
theory is a listener somehow is involved with this program and sent it as a joke.
Well, that
'Cause
says a
that
lot
would be
about you,
so
Greg.
awesome.
There's no other explanation.
No, well, that's one way to look at
Is
it.
it a flat out clerical mistake?
The way
That's-
that you're holding this football right now and displaying it, how you're cradling it like a
You
baby.
didn't even know how to say his name, Dabo Swinney.
Because I don't do it for the autographs
Sure.
or even for the head coach to send me this beautiful ball. I do
You
it.
don't do it at all.
What do you mean?
Greg hates this.
What do you
No,
mean?
I love it. I do love
Oh,
it.
yeah, you love it, Greg.
Greg sent it.
There is a selfless nature to you, Dan, and I don't think anyone could deny that.
And like now that the football landed in my lap, yeah. Did I rotate it this morning toward the window? Because I think it's an inspiration to others to also give their time for people who need it.
Maybe
Yeah.
another student
Can I
athlete
get a
walks
little
by
applause?
and
Come on,
sees
Eric.
it.
What's taking so long? All right. let's move on.
You're a monster.
Anyway,
Gotta
Trevor Lawrence.
end the segment.
We got
Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall pick. Zach Wilson, number 2 overall pick. Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, the number 3 overall pick.
Oofa.
Justin Fields, the number 11 overall pick. Mac Jones, the 15th overall pick. None of the last 4 names are going to get a second contract with the team that drafted them. And one of them is already no longer with the team. That's Trey Lance. And it's now all up to Trevor Lawrence to make that, by the way, which was kind of a fascinating draft class. Mark, would you mind pulling up the 2021 NFL draft class? Great first round. Tons of stars, and the quarterbacks were the headliners, and they pretty much all busted except for Lawrence. And now you look at Trevor Lawrence, and I mentioned it a couple days ago, but he closed strong last year. His last 7 games, I looked this up on Pro Football Reference. He had a 104 passer rating, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He added 2 rushing scores, completed 68% of his passes. They won the AFC South, had one of the great comebacks in the history of the NFL against the Chargers, and then gave the Chiefs all they could handle in the divisional round. As Greg mentioned, they have a pretty soft remaining schedule. No Burrow, Cincinnati, at Cleveland with DTR or whoever, home against Baltimore, major game with high-level stakes in the AFC playoff picture and the potential bye, at Tampa, home Carolina, at Tennessee. They absolutely can be a 12 or 13 win team if they get high-level play from their quarterback, who is the only QB that matters out of that draft class. We shall see how he finishes and how the Jags finish.
I'm not totally giving
And
up.
whoever you are, you're welcome.
That is a terrible quarterback class, looking at it from
Awful.
top to bottom.
I'm not giving up on Fields having a reasonable career where he starts a lot of games and has a better second act, like a Ryan Tannehill type of guy. I wouldn't put him nearly in the same class of where Zach
Well, he'll be
Wilson-
traded, though,
Mac-
in the offseason by
I don't think he'll be on the Bears.
the team
with
that
We've seen
passed up the number 1 overall pick last year to keep.
Right. But Trey Lance and Zach Wilson and Mac Jones are in very dark places.
Yes.
I just put Fields like a little
Right.
to the side.
And it's
you're
just
right.
kind of crazy.
It is, because the next quarterbacks that were taken in that class were Kellen Mond,
Right, after a long break.
Davis Mills. Like, he had, I guess he's living.
Who
up
else
to
was in that
the
first round, Mark? That was a good first round.
Well, it's Trevor Lawrence, it's Zach Wilson, it's Trey Lance, it's Justin Fields, it's Mac Jones. Then it falls off to Kyle Trask in the
No, I mean the other players that weren't quarterbacks.
Oh, you got-
Oh, absolutely. Look, you've got
I mean-
Micah Parsons in there.
Parsons is 12th.
Yep, you got
DeMar Chase is 5th.
Penei Sewell, Patrick Surtain, Devonta Smith.
Kyle Pitts was 4th. Waddle was 6th. I mean, Sewell's an all-pro or Pro Bowler. So is Surtain at 9. Devonta Smith might as well be at 10. Great player. Parsons at 12. Slater made an all-pro team at 13. That is a great top of the draft. But
that said, though,
that the
like the
quarterback
Jets
threw
were
in.
not going to take, a linebacker at this. Like it was like you have to keep trying.
Well, once the Jets beat the Rams in Week 16, they locked themselves out of the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. And they would have been, no matter what they would have done, they would have been wrong. But doesn't make it feel any better.
And this quarterback class, that one was sold to us as a really good
Generational class.
Yeah.
That's just
There
the
were
way it is.
people
So,
fawning over Zach Wilson even a year into his career.
so I just want to say that Lawrence and the Jags are a team to watch down the stretch here with a soft schedule and good positioning. And they could, even though it strikes you as odd potentially, be the number 1 seed in the AFC.
I give them a little less of a chance than the Chiefs, but they were the second most.
Put it this way, at a certain point before games were played, they were the number 1 seed on Sunday, if I'm not
God, that
mistaken.
changed hands so
like,
many times.
it changed, but that tells you how incredibly packed things are, but also they're in the mix absolutely right now.
I have one quick one.
Yeah.
Because it's literally one of the biggest sports stories around. And we're about 40 days away from knowing the fate, very simply, of Bill Belichick staying in New England or leaving. The Patriots maybe saying goodbye to him when they have the number 1 overall pick or first, second, or third. And then, like in any given Sunday Al Pacino closer, like
Have you seen that movie, Colleen?
I have, yes.
Nice.
there you go. Like Belichick turning right around and continuing his coaching career and chasing Don Shula's record somewhere else, maybe with the Chargers, maybe with the Commanders, the Commies.
You know what's You know what's interesting? Is there anything that Belichick can do from this point to January 7th that would change his fate in New England?
I think it would more come down to the fact that Kraft.
One way or the other. I don't know, you know.
I think
mean,
if you're Kraft and you
could
look
win
around
every
and say,
game. If you go 6-0 with Bailey Zappi, that would probably change it.
Or is it just already over?
What about 4-2?
Why would that change? Why would it change it though?
I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Don't
Like,
you think that
have
would-
they already made the
I
decision
think it's more
internally?
like what Kraft is weighing as other options, and it's going to be, you know, the coach that's to come be post Bill Belichick. You know, if it's Gerard Mayo, maybe it's already decided in Kraft's mind. But
Belichick said this week that he enjoys coaching this team and enjoys coaching as much now as he did when they were winning Super Bowls. Which
Okay, there's no way.
This is equally as fun.
yeah,
What?
I don't quite believe that, but I do believe that's a signal I plan to continue coaching.
I love ball.
And
Of course he
that-
does.
and-
He wants the record.
And I actually do believe him
Yeah.
that he believes, and he's probably right, that he is going to find no greater satisfaction or enjoyment or joy in his life than doing what he's doing. So he's going to
I
keep
completely
he's going to
agree
keep
with you.
doing it
Totes.
if someone hires him to do it. And
And if he
think
could be
someone-
hired by a team that has an established quarterback that
Like
has the, Patriots
Chargers?
on their schedule, I think he would like that too. That would be
Yep.
would
perfect
he be
for him.
willing to give up
Yeah.
running the organization? Because I do think he's not that far away from the defensive version of Mike Shanahan, which is like Mike Shanahan running the organization where he was essentially the owner, ruined that he was still like his son, the best play caller in the league. And for everything that Bill Belichick, isn't doing right, they're still ranked pretty high defensively. Like, I think he's still a fine game day coach. Like, he could coach up a defense. He just, everything else.
I don't think
that's it.
Bill's gonna want to go somewhere where someone else is. As Bill Parcells
Some little
once
nerdy
said,
GM telling Bill Belichick what to do.
if you're gonna ask me to cook the meal, you got to let me shop for the groceries.
About 40 days
That
away.
is,
We'll
I
see
don't,
what-
I can't
40
see Bill
days.
having someone else go to the supermarket.
You're probably right.
But if you have, I don't know, Justin Herbert as the quarterback, then you have a little more margin for error, which he does not have right now.
Mhm.
All right, let's get to Thursday Night Football. Unless anybody else have another one? We're good? All right. Good talk, good seg. Thursday Night Football, yes, the aforementioned Dallas Cowboys are at home where they have been unstoppable this year, including a Thursday night bashing of the Commanders that got people fired. They host the Seattle Seahawks, and these are two teams, Connie, and again, Colleen, who anchors coverage of TNF on NFL Network. Two teams going in different directions.
Yeah.
So I think the general sentiment out there, and I don't know what the desert's saying, but I'm going to guess, Greggy. I'm going to guess about, maybe 7.5.
I'm checking.
At least.
Um,
probably.
It's up to 9.
Up
Yeah.
to 9. My God. The general sentiment out there in the Vegas sentiment is that the Cowboys are going to keep rolling. Is there anything that you're seeing in your studying of the Seahawks that says, you know what, this could be a team that the game they hang around in and maybe even win?
So the only thing that jumps out at me is Geno Smith. Yes, he was definitely not 100% last week. We knew that after hurting his elbow, and he wasn't a full participant in practice going into that Thanksgiving game. But this week he's participated in all of the practices fully. So his I think Pete Carroll came out and said that like it's a night and day difference for him coming into this game. So maybe we see a little bit more from Geno because that was just not a great performance by him at all. But yeah, I mean, these two teams, I think the Seahawks are like a perfect example of how volatile the NFL is this year in general, because they were 5-2. They were one of the darlings of the NFC. They were in conversations about challenging the Niners for the division. And then they lost 3 of 4 games, including the San Francisco one. And they're still in the playoff picture, but their next 3 games at Dallas, at San Francisco, and then hosting the Eagles, that's a really tough stretch. And with these two teams matching up on Thursday, like Duron Bland has more touchdowns than any of the Seahawks wide receivers. So they kind of,
Come on,
I know that they
DK.
run the ball well, and they're going to have to win this game or even make it close.
Metcalf has one 100-plus yard performance. There's a number out there that says on tight window throws, he's caught 2 of 17 tight window targets. The offense has fallen off a cliff since week 9, allowing just over 15 points per game. They're allowing almost 28 on defense. Dallas has never trailed at home this entire season. Seattle's gone 20 straight drives without a touchdown. It's not just the healthier version of Geno Smith. It's like we're watching a team that I think had great promise and is starting to crumble left and right. You don't have Kenneth Walker, and I see issues on both sides of the ball. And do I trust Pete Carroll on the road against a white-hot Cowboys team to coach his way out of it? If I say I don't trust them, they'll probably win anyways, because I remember what happened last week when I predicted this.
Greggy,
it's a little Dan Quinn, Pete Carroll off, by the way. Dan,
that's true.
Dan Quinn, who's coaching up a storm. Pete Carroll, 22nd in defensive DVOA. They've been below average now for 5 out of 6 years. The 1 year they weren't was the pandemic year where they were 13th. So he's a defensive coach with a below-average defense basically every year.
Greggy, you know what else matters in these last 6 weeks? I think it's your boy. I think Geno's playing for his job in these last 6 weeks of the regular season because I think he's had a pretty Geno Coaster type year, and I think contract-wise they can make a move if they have to after this year. So he's got to put better tape out there as well.
I think they're more likely to draft a quarterback to pair with him because of the contract that he has, which is similar to the Derek Carr contract with the Raiders, which you can get off of it, but you'd have to still, you guaranteed like $12 million.
But if his next 6 weeks looks like his last 6 weeks, I think they could go in a different direction.
I don't think they would do that with a veteran because I think he's kind of played over that line of just like he's better than average. So we're going to need...
Right now he is, you think?
Yes. I do. I do think, though, that like the Thursday night game was a great example. Like, they've had a couple of these games this year, and it's boring to point this out, but they get steamrolled offensively and defensively on the line. They have no pass rush, essentially, that's consistent. They put all this money in Draymond Jones. They traded for Leonard Williams, Boye Mafia, all this stuff. They get rocked, and the Cowboys' offensive line has been great.
It's been
lately.
awesome.
And then you flip it, and Geno's facing, I think, the 3rd highest pressure rate in the league, despite getting rid of the ball pretty quickly and mostly avoiding sacks. They do get Abe Lucas possibly back for this game to replace the 41-year-old Jason Peters for the first time since week 1. This would be the first time they have their tackles back together for the first time since week 1, but they're still got like a missing guard or two. Like, Their 2 lines are bad, and the Cowboys are so good up front on both sides. It's sad. I'm not looking forward to Geno playing this defense because there's no reason to think that they're gonna play well.
I think also if you're Dallas, like you could point to figures on the roster who have improved. Like we've gotten a much better version of Brandon Cooks the last couple of weeks. We're waiting for that. I think Tony Pollard's been running the ball better than any point in the year, and then. It's like they're the kind of team that if you get behind against Dallas, they just start to unleash dark hell on everyone. It's like I don't know. I don't love the formula for Seattle here.
No, and also I kind of think it's interesting that the Seahawks they just signed Kelvin Joseph too to their practice squad. So a former Cowboy. They have a couple former Cowboys.
A spy.
On the team, if you count Jason Peters, I guess, at this point. Yeah. But the Cowboys' offensive line has been playing so well. Both Smiths on the left side, Tyron and Tyler, they look great. Just to Gregg's point.
The Dallas offensive line is back. Yeah.
Really?
He said they had three Hall of Famers on their line, including Tyler Smith.
I think Dak is also...
I think you misspoke. I think he was thinking when.
I mean, he did say it. I don't. Right. He's probably not pounding the table.
I think he was.
Let's get Tony on the line from a grocery store somewhere.
He was like having a flashback to when before Travis Frederick retired.
You mentioned Cooks. Obviously, CD Lamb's been an All-Pro this year. You mentioned Pollard starting to heat up. You are getting a situation where I think Dak is lifting all boats here. And Connie, here's a good stat. This is from Barnwell.
Did I write this one down?
Our buddy, yeah. He has an 80.7 QBR since week 6. And I think week 6, you're butter knifing it a little bit because I think that's when he bombed out against San Francisco. But since that game, he has an 80.7 QBR. Nobody else in the entire NFL is over 68. So he's head and shoulders the best QB in the league for a month and a half now. And I just think, Connie, everything sets up in prime time with the Cowboys feeling themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They are on normal rest, even though they played on Thursday night. Same with the Seahawks, by the way. To keep rolling on offense, I think we could be looking at another 30 to 40 burger.
I could definitely see that. It feels like
Yeah.
they're at the height of their power right now. And Dak Prescott, yeah, he's on an absolute tear. He was actually asked about it. You know, he has a daughter that's due in March coming up. So you could call him Dad Prescott if you want.
Well, you could.
But he was saying that he was asked about how well he's been playing.
Are you
and
like
he said,
workshopping that for Mooch on Thursday night or whoever is with
listen,
you? He's
leave
on Monday
me and
night.
Mooch alone.
We love
Does Mooch know that this show exists?
I'm sure he does.
You
You,
know
should
what?
have him on.
Sure. I
He's
mean,
so much fun.
I don't know if he
I
knows the show exists, but I mean, what a great guy.
Are you kidding me? He's the best.
Always
Uncle Mooch here in the office.
absolutely.
Everybody likes Steve Mariucci.
He is just the sweetest, most
Yeah.
genuine. Like, he's so much fun to be around. I love doing shows with him. And my
Let's do
dad
it.
is in town right now.
Because we
What?
want to get. Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's like I just
Oh,
have
Ed
like
Wolfe.
big dad energy all around me.
Yeah, dad energy is
Uh-huh.
right. I think because here another one. We want to get who we want to get on the show in the offseason. McDaniel. We want to get Darius Slay.
Kyle Shanahan.
We want to get Steve Smith
Do my own episode.
with Colleen.
Yeah.
And how about Mooch?
Yeah.
With Connie as well.
Listen, Mondays with Mooch. It's one
Oh,
of my
that's
favorite
nice.
days of the week. And
That's
anyway,
nice. That's
what
nice.
I was just about to say, though, about Prescott, he was asked about the tear that he's on right now, and he said that it's dad strength. That's what's really, like, pushing him through right now.
Way to tie it all together.
Yeah. There we go.
Until you're getting about 2.5 hours of sleep. And
Anything else on this game?
child
Yeah.
lives.
All right.
Let's show up Seahawks. They are a more interesting 9.5-point underdog than most.
I'm with you. on
And
that.
there is something to the fact that they're not facing the 49ers. I know the Cowboys are great, but the Seahawks just look like little babies when they go against the 49ers. Like they shouldn't even belong. They had to have been humbled there. If ever they were gonna, respond a little bit, try a little harder, Dan.
But it's tough.
This is the game after. I mean, that was as bad as it gets last week.
You know what other energy they
Just
give
show
me a
up,
little
give
bit?
us a good
What?
game.
Remember that from the other night? Just hit the road. We're good.
Do the Rams end up getting in the playoffs and bouncing the Seahawks?
Seahawks are in trouble.
I feel like the Packers are more likely, but yeah,
They are in trouble.
Mhm.
they got to win one of these
One
games
last-
as an underdog.
Fearless prediction. I think Deron Bland gets an interception.
Mm.
He gets in the open field that gets
No.
brought down on the Seattle side of the field.
Oh.
So he almost has builds on his NFL record with a 6th pick six.
I thought you were going to say
Gets brought
Gino would
down.
tackle him, and for some reason, Gino has a lot of strengths. Open field tackling, I just
Gino could have the
I
tackle.
don't feel like would be one of them. I don't feel like it would.
I
be
will
one
freak
of them.
out if this happens.
All right. Okay. I think we covered everything. Let me check the rundown.
Uh-huh.
Colleen Wolfe, I want to give you the floor before you say goodbye. Is there anything you want to share with the audience on anything? Whether it's a plug or something personal or what?
I will be on TV on Thursday.
We got
for
that.
Thursday Night Football.
What else? Are your Christmas decorations up yet?
No, Christmas is canceled.
Oh. Breaking news.
Yeah, I've canceled it because we had to put our sweet baby to sleep last week, Blitzen.
Oh, no.
So one of the reindeer is
This
now
song
gone
is
from
not
the
suitable.
Yeah, that's terrible.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I am
didn't know
sorry
that.
to end on a down note here.
Well, that's news.
Yeah, so I am a basket case,
Aw,
and
Connie.
yeah, so there's that.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm
But
sorry
love
to
you
hear
guys.
that. Yes, and you still have the one dog, and
Still have Dasher.
you and Johnny will give Dasher the comfort he needs.
Yeah,
And you need
By
each other.
Christmas, you'll get in the spirit.
I
You
know.
just need a little recovery.
As I've said before with dogs, because I've been very close with dogs in my life, they are the perfect animal.
Mm-hmm.
The only fundamental flaw of the dog is it lives long enough for you to really embrace it as a part of your family, but not long enough to just be around, and you get those 10 to 15 years, and Blitzen was a good dog.
Blitzen was great.
Great dog.
I
Boomer,
feel
my
very
Boomer was a
lucky.
great dog. Everyone has had a great dog, or most of us have.
I feel lucky that over the off season, I got yanked out of the mist to house sit at Connie and John's
Yes.
house and spend
Iconic.
a lot of time with both dogs. And I had met them both before, but it
Aw.
literally, it kind of F's me up to hear this news because They were really sweet, and they were best friends too.
And you sent me the best videos of them. I still like the best pictures and videos. So many throughout the time that you were house sitting, and like I love them. I love every single one that you sent, and I save them and I look at them. And
Connie,
Good, what we're thinking of you.
God,
advice to a friend: find an ornament that looks like Blitzen, decorate for the holidays, and hang that ornament and celebrate together. I think it would actually help.
I think so too.
Bring love into the house.
Okay.
Celebrate
All right.
Blitzen.
All right.
Uncancel Christmas.
Fine.
Uncancel Christmas.
Fine.
back, Christmas.
Fine. Christmas is back. Turn on the music.
All right. Shout out Blitzen. Thank you to everyone. And you and dogs. It's never nonstop drama around
Blitzen
this
was the
time
opposite
of year.
Tank.
I know. Jeez.
Where is Tank?
How is Tank still around and Blitz is
I
actually
know.
Tank's not around.
I was rooting for
Let's
the
be
dog.
honest about that.
All right.
Okay.
Gotta go.
That's everything. You said it all, Colleen. Thank you to everybody for listening. We'll be back on Thursday with the TNF preview, NFL Plus, TNF recap. It's our Thursday triple header. That's a lot of work.
Looking forward to it.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We grind. Till then,
Going.
heed the call.